Welcome back. We're going to get back into some more animation. We're going to be focusing now on using classic tweens, and we're going to be showing you how to create multiple animations on multiple layers, all right? We're going to be talking about one of the major rules of classic tweens, and that is that you can only animate one element at a time per layer. So we're going to discuss creating multiple layers, naming them, locking them. We'll touch on the align panel a little bit. But let me jump over to the finished file. And so what we're going to be doing is creating this cool little UFO animation. We're going to actually be building on the previous UFO animation that we built. We're going to be adding a little bit more spice to it. We're going to add an alien head and some text. So through the process of animating multiple things, we're going to really get into your head this process of creating classic tweened animations. All right, so let's get to it. All right, so over in Animate, I have my file open called UFO with alien start.fla, and I have my stage zoomed out to about 50%. And in my timeline, I have one blank keyframe here. There's nothing in it. You'll see we have that hollow circle with the black stroke. And things are looking pretty sparse, all right? Whenever I start off an animation, I like to have some frames to play with as far as being in my timeline. Right now, I can't drag the playhead forward. I have all these potential frames, remember? What I'm gonna do is just go to frame number 60 here, and I could go to insert timeline frame, but that's very slow and arduous. So we're gonna be power users, so you know me and my shortcuts. What is it? Yep. F5 is going to add a frame at frame 60, and so now I can move the playhead around and take a little sigh of relief. I want to show you in my library, I'm providing a number of assets for you. Show you that we have this alien head, we have his eyes as a separate symbol, the head as a separate symbol, we have this text that says out of this world, we have separate space mountains, we have an image with the space mountains and some stars, we have our UFO again, and some text that says your skills are. So at this stage of the game, I'm just providing the symbols for you, showing you how to animate. But later on, I'm going to show you all about creating your own symbols and all the different symbol types. But for now, again, we're focusing on animation. So what I'm going to do here, first things first, in layer 1, I'm going to rename this my background layer. So I double click on the layer, and I'm just going to call it background, and I'm going to add my space background JPEG to the stage. So I'm just going to drag it out anywhere. Now I could try to line it up perfectly, top left hand corner, and I have some guides that sort of show me what's happening when I do line up with the bottom and then the left side. But what I want to show you is that I'm going to use the align panel. And if you're using your Essentials workspace, you can click on this button here for align. You can go to Window, Align, but you know me, I like my keyboard shortcuts, so I'm going to do Command K on the Mac or Control K on the PC. And so now this little palette comes out, and I'm going to click on Align to Stage, and then I'm just going to do, let's go to the left edge and the top edge. And there I know that I'm absolutely perfectly aligned to the top left of the stage, and my image is the exact same size as the stage. So everything's covered up, and I have this cool little space background here. Now throughout this project, I'm going to be adding the alien head, some text, the UFOs, and I don't want to inadvertently click on the background and move it and make mistakes and shift it off by even a single pixel. So if I have this thing aligned to left and top, what I'm going to do is go down to the layer in the timeline, and this little dot under the lock is going to allow me to lock that layer. And what that means is that I can no longer select or move anything in that layer. So once I have my background in place, I like to lock it. Once that layer is locked, next we're going to build our UFO animation. And this is going to be very similar to what we did previously with our first tween animation. But you know what? To learn this stuff, it's all about repetition, okay? And I want you to do this stuff a few times so that you actually get it into your head, you build the muscle memory. And since we've done it before, I can do it fairly quickly the second time around. What's going to be new in this lesson is that we're going to be adding new layers to our document. So here I have the background layer locked. I'm going to click on this button right here and add a new layer on top of it, okay? Anything I put in this new layer is going to be visually on top of anything in the background layer. I'm going to double click on this layer and name it UFO. Naming your layers is a great practice to get into. We want to build that habit because you might have 10, 20, 60 layers in a FLA file, and if you don't label them, it's going to be a real nightmare. So in this UFO layer, I'm going to go to my library. If it's not opened up, you can just click on the tab here, and I'm going to select UFO, and I'm going to drag it out onto the stage. And from here on out, I'm pretty much going to do the exact same steps you've done before. I'm going to select the UFO. We're going to use the transform tool to size it down. I'm going to hold down shift so that I can constrain the scaling. I'm just going to move it up here. I'm going to go to frame number 10. I'm going to hit what? Yes, F6 to add a new keyframe. And I'm going to take the UFO, bring it somewhat into the middle. I'm going to again hold down shift to constrain the scaling. And then I'm going to rotate it a little bit. Again, you've done this before, so I'm going to go quick. Then I'm going to go to frame number 20. I'm going to hit F6 to add a new what? Keyframe, yes. And I'm going to take the UFO, move it over here, maybe tilt it down this way, hold down shift, and shrink it. So I have these 1, 2, 3 keyframes in, and there's no animation in between them. But what do? Exactly, we're going to add a classic tween. Right click, create classic tween, right click, create classic tween. So now I can drag back to frame 1, hit return or enter, and we've played our animation. Next, we're going to animate the alien head, and this is going to introduce us to one of the most important rules of creating classic tweens, and that is this. You can only animate one element at a time per layer. So what does that mean? Well, let's say that in frame number 10, we decide that we want to animate our alien head. If I take the alien head and drag it out onto the stage in frame number 10, watch what happens. We get what's called these broken tweens. In our timeline, we now see these dotted lines in between our keyframes. And what will happen is the next time we go to play our animation, we get this really weird thing of the alien head moving all over the place, and it's totally not what I wanted to do. All right, if you think about it, Animate really can't take one thing, which is a UFO, and animate it into two things, and then in frame 20, I don't even know how it figured out what it was doing. Notice when I go to frame 20 that it just disappears. So at the end of the day, we're getting all these undesired and unexpected results, okay? So again, the rule is only animate one element at a time per layer. So I'm going to go back to frame number 10 and let me just undo, and that should hopefully get rid of my alien head, I'm sorry. And even though he's gone, I think he's still in frame number 10. Let me just get rid of him. I'm going to click on him and hit delete, and then instantly you'll see that those dotted lines turn back into nice arrows and everything's pretty. So moving forward, whenever you're doing your own stuff, if you ever see those dotted lines, it's a time to say, okay, I messed something up, let me figure out what it is. So now that I got the alien head out of frame number 10, I'm safe. Well, I don't want to introduce the alien until frame number 20. And what I'm going to do for the alien now is add a new layer. And I'm going to name it alien. And you really want to get in the habit of naming your layers. I know it's easy not to, but after a while you're going to have layer 1 through 70 and you'll have no idea what's in each layer. Now, something I showed you previously was that if I want to introduce this new element to the stage in frame number 20, I need to have a keyframe there first, okay? Let me do it the wrong way, all right? I'll pretend that we're not students who took my boot camps for keyframes, and in frame number 20, I'm going to take the alien head and I'm going to drag him out onto the stage. And now I'm going to go back to frame number 1 and say, oh my God, why is that alien head on frame number 1? Well, that's because there wasn't a keyframe first on frame number 20. So if you make this mistake and you add your thing earlier in the movie than you wanted to, you can always click on that frame to select it and then drag it forward. And so now my keyframe is frame number 20 and I'm good. However, I want to show you the right way to do this. So let me just undo a bunch of stuff until the alien head goes away again. I'm hitting undo, Command Z. And so prior to putting the alien on the stage, in frame 20, I'm going to click and I'm going to hit F6 to add my new keyframe. You may notice that it's a blank keyframe. Well, that's because there was nothing on the stage previously. So I have a blank keyframe in frame number 20, and I can take the alien head now, drag him out onto the stage, and put him just right about here, sort of centered vertically with a few pixels off to the left. I'm not going for perfect right now. I want this alien head to start small and transparent and scale up. So what I'm going to do for this is in frame 20, I'm going to get things pretty much the way I want them to be at the end of the animation. Then I'm going to go to frame number 30. I'm going to click there, and I'm going to hit F6 again to create a new keyframe. We've learned previously that creating a new keyframe is going to duplicate everything from the previous keyframe. So frame 30 and frame 20 are now identical. What I can do in frame 20 though is using the transform tool is I can select him, I can hold down shift, and I can scale him down a little bit. And I can also go to the properties panel, and under color effect, it might be condensed for you or collapsed. You can go to color effect and select alpha. And here the alpha is similar to opacity or transparency, all right? An alpha of 0 makes him fully transparent. An alpha of 50 is going to make him halfway transparent. Alpha of 100, he's fully opaque. So I'm going to bring this alpha slider all the way down to 0. And then so in frame 20, he's small and transparent. In frame 30, he's big and fully opaque. So let me just go back to frame number 20 or somewhere in between that span and create classic tween. And so now I have an animation of the alien head growing and fading in. Let me just drag back to frame number 1, hit return, and there you go. Hey, how you doing? You all right? Good. I just wanted to check in on you. Listen, I know we've been going through this stuff for a little while now. You've been doing really good paying attention to these videos, and I'm really proud of you. You've done some hands-on lessons, and I think we're really starting to get a hang of these frames, keyframes, classic tweens, and all that jazz. So I just want to congratulate you, let you take a little breather now, okay? Why don't you get up, get some water, come back, and we'll knock this thing out. You're doing awesome. All right, I'm back. To wrap it up, what we're going to do is just bring in that text that says, your skills are out of this world. Let's go over to the finished file, and I'll just show you that. We're going to have text that comes in from the right and fades in a little bit. It says, your skills are out of this world. Ha ha ha. All right, and pretty much it's going to be more of the stuff we just did before. So let me go back to frame number 30 here. And with the alien layer selected, I'm going to add a new layer, which will put a new layer above alien. And I'm going to call it your skills are. Okay. And now we know that if I want to start the animation of that text on frame 30, I'm going to first select frame 30 by just clicking on it. Hit F6 to add my new keyframe. And I'm going to go to my library. We're going to take the symbol that says your skills are, and I'm going to drag it out onto the stage. And again, we're not going to get too crazy with the positioning. I'm just going to put it right about there, maybe just line it up with his eyes a little bit, okay? And so that's where I want the text to be after the animation is done. So in frame number 40, I'm going to click there, again, hit F6. Aren't you glad we're using keyboard shortcuts? I know you are. So we have a duplicate of frame 30, and back in frame number 30, I'm going to just take this text, and I could drag it over to the right, but what I'm going to do is hold down Shift and hit the right arrow key to move it 10 pixels over to the right, and I'm going to do that 3 more times. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to the Properties panel. It's going to show me that right now, the last thing I clicked on was a frame, okay? So I don't want to get messed up by that. I'm going to click on the actual symbol, haha, and it's going to tell me it's a graphic, an instance of your skills are. And again, I'm going to go to color effect, style, alpha, and it's already brought down to 0. So in frame number 30, we're over to the right with an alpha of 0. In frame number 40, we're over to the left, fully opaque. Boom, right click, create classic tween, and now my text comes in and fades in at the same time. For the last one, again, the repetition is going to help you. We're going to add a new layer. I did that so fast. And I'm going to now say out of this world. And we're going to go back to frame number 40 here. I'm going to hit my friend F6, go to the library, and I'm going to take out of this world, out of the library, and we're going to just put it onto the stage. Move it over a few pixels, down a little bit. And now in frame number 50, I'm just going to click there again. There's 50. Hit F6, add our keyframe. I'm going to go back to frame number 40, click on the symbol, go over about 4 times. It's okay that it comes off stage. At that point in time, we're going to go to the properties panel and we're going to set the alpha down to 0. We'll right click here and create classic tween, and now we're just going to fade in. We'll go back to the beginning and we'll hit it. Awesome. You know, I think this is a little close right here. Well, watch this. If I need to fine tune things a little bit, I can select this. I can hold down Shift and I can just move this a little bit over to the left using the left arrow key. Awesome. I can take the alien, maybe go a few over. Again, we're not going for pixel perfect placement right now, but we do have that option to move stuff around, obviously. So I'll drag back to the beginning, hit return or enter, and there I have my animation. Awesome. All right, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Next what I'm going to do is give you follow along instructions so that you can do this all for yourself. And again, at this part of the learning phase, it's important to get all this repetition in. I'd even ask you to watch this video one more time before doing the follow along part of this. But don't worry, I'm going to give you all the steps, you're going to do it, and all this keyframe stuff and classic tweens, it's all going to sink in and become second nature. Just trust me, you're going to get really good at this.
Normal Daddy.